Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Mitch. I'm here to do a contest response. My first contest response. This one goes out to the one and only Mr. Billy Hurst. Billy recently reached his 500 subscribers point. Congratulations, Billy. And it's also the celebration of Billy's 44th birthday, which was about the middle of January. So I'm a little late publicly telling you happy birthday, Billy. Getting this contest response in just under the wire, just a couple days left. For those of you who don't know who Billy is, he's a fantastic, very active member of the VC, super supportive of a lot of people's channels, really friendly guy. Very eclectic taste. He likes a lot of country, of course. He's a country singer himself, so he's kind of become one of the VC's quote-unquote country guys. However, he also likes a lot of classic rock, hard rock, heavy metal, hair metal. He's got some hip-hop in his collection. Just a really eclectic guy when it comes to music, and I've also been very fortunate enough to get pretty close with him over the last few months that I've been in the VC. And so not only is Billy the star, if you will, of one of my favorite VC channels, I'm also lucky enough to be able to call him a personal friend of mine. So again, Billy, happy birthday. We get right into the contest here. For those of you who don't know what this contest is about, Billy turned 44, and he wanted to do kind of a 4-and-4 contest. So he wanted you to pick 4 albums from the year he was born, which was 1974, 4 albums from the year that I was born, 1989. I know Billy's going to make fun of me for being a baby. Just luck of the draw, man. Came out in 1989, sue me. And then there's also another for bonus, being that Billy's known as the country guy. He said that you could get a bonus entry into the contest if you showed 4 of your favorite country albums. So without further ado, I'll just jump right in. These are in no particular order, by the way. First up is 1974. This, of course, is Frank Zappa, Apostrophe. So really nice, clean, original U.S. pressing on the Discreet label. Apostrophe is one of Frank's most well-known albums. It's one of his most accessible albums. It's got stuff on here that he played live for the rest of his career. Stinkfoot, Cosmic Debris, Nanu Grubs at St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast. All of those became huge live staples. Of course, Apostrophe did as well. And then Don't Eat the Yellow Snow is probably Frank's second most commercial song, right behind Valley Girl, that he did with his daughter in the early 80s. It's just a really solid, accessible rock album from Frank Zappa. It's not super weird. The lyrics aren't super dirty. There's not a whole lot of immature stuff going on here. Just a little bit of a sense of humor, in my opinion. It's definitely no Chic Your Booty or Joe's Garage. But the band that's going on this album is huge. There's a lot of different live takes. There's a lot of overdubs. But again, like I said, one of his most known, one of his most easily accessible, and definitely one of my favorites in his catalog. When I was talking with Billy, I had a lot of trouble with 1974 for some reason. A lot of the stuff that came out in 1974, either I'm not too familiar with, or I didn't have in any format. So I really wrestled with this response for a while, which is kind of one of the reasons why I'm putting it out last minute. But I kind of was working this weekend on setting my answers in stone, and I totally forgot about this bad boy. I was lucky to go over the list again. This, of course, is James Gang Miami. This came out in 1974. This is, the reason this is in my personal collection is it came to me from my father. I have 2 James Gang albums. in the collection, both of which star Tommy Bolin. Both Dad and me by osmosis are huge Tommy Bolin fans. This is just a fantastic, straightforward rock album from 1974. There's a lot of really nice grooves on here. Of course, there's some really excellent guitar work. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably just go with the lead-off track there, Cruising Down the Highway. But again, just super fortunate to have this. It's got a little bit of a delete mark over here, but it's a really nice original pressing. As far as I know, it's an original pressing. It's on that really ugly all yellow Atco label. But yeah, whenever I see this, it's always thrashed. So I was pumped to find this in Dad's collection. It's mostly wear free. Next up, I definitely had trouble choosing between this Queen Sheer Heart Attack, which is their third album, and Queen 2. Queen 2 came out in January, and I believe this one was out in October or so. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but Queen 2 came out early 74. This one came out later in the year. I love Queen. Queen's one of my favorite bands. They have been since I was a little kid. I just had to go with Sheer Heart Attack because I feel like this is a stronger album. It's a heavier album, in my opinion, which I like. In fact, a lot of Queen aficionados who know a lot more than I do out there would call this as close as Queen got to metal, of course, because, you know, Stone Cold Crazy is on here, but there's a lot of heavier riffs and guitar work on here. I also have fond memories of listening to Now I'm Here on headphones and really, as a young kid, being tripped out for the first time about how the possibilities of stereo mixing and such, and just how different the vocals come in from one side to the other, and it was just really one of my first exposures, I think, to a really cool stereo mix. So again, 1974, Queen, Sheer Heart Attack. And last for 1974, but certainly not least, is Desolation Boulevard by Sweet. My friends up to the north of us, hi David Michael, always, whenever I see a Canadian VC video mention Sweet, they always say The Sweet or The Sweet. I know that they have releases under both of those names depending on which country the album came out on, but whenever somebody asks me if I know or like The Sweet, it never ties together for me, and this is Sweet. It's kind of like when somebody says, do you like The Talking Heads? I get really like, no, that's not the name of the band. But all that jargon aside, this is probably my favorite glam rock album, of all time. You got Ballroom Blitz, The 16s, you got Fox on the Run, Sweet FA. I mean, every song on here from beginning to end is fantastic. It took me a long time to find a clean copy of this, but certainly glad I did. And another really cool thing is this was on kind of a list of albums that I had asked my dad to make me a list of albums that really meant a lot to him. That maybe I wasn't aware meant a lot to him, and he got that to me about a month before he passed, and so this wasn't in his collection, but now it's in mine, and so that's really cool as well. So that's 1974 for you. Again, I was born in 1989, so we'll move right along. First one is Broadway the Hard Way by Frank Zappa. Technically, Billy, this LP came out, the gatefold there, sorry for the glare, guys. This LP came out in 1983. It's not my favorite work by Frank Zappa. I really like Ryman Man, which kind of poked fun at Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Jesus Thinks You're a Jerk is hilarious. Elvis Has Just Left the Building is a great song. But the reason that I counted this as 1984 is because it was released on CD in early 1984 with a lot of bonus tracks. And what really draws me to this is there is a live performance of the Police song Murder by Numbers that Frank did. Apparently, Sting was in the crowd, or I don't know how it happened, but Sting shows up. Frank and Sting and Frank's band play Murder by Numbers together. They all make fun of Jimmy Swaggart, and it's a really fantastic version. So that's one of my favorite individual Frank tracks, so I had to include this one. And then, excuse me, lastly, for 1989, I went with Mother Love Bone Shine. This is just a 4-track EP, excuse me. This is the 180 gram gatefold edition from, I think it's 2016's box set of Mother Love Bone. I don't know if you guys heard that, but the gatefold hasn't even been opened up all the way on this bad boy. I don't want to break the spine. But, I honestly probably prefer Apple, which came out in 1990, of course. But all 4 songs on here are great, but I would pay the price for this whole record just to have Chloe Dancer Crown of Thorns on vinyl. Just especially Chloe Dancer. I really don't like hearing Crown of Thorns without Chloe Dancer at the front, even though they're both great songs. But yeah, just Mother Love Bone's one of my favorite bands of all time. Super sad, of course, about Andrew Wood, but I'm fortunate that we have the material that we do have. And again, this is one of my favorite releases of 1989. And that's not last, by the way. I don't know why I said that. Next up, it's my first time showing CDs on the VC outside of my Ian Moore Artist Spotlight. So I am prepared to get all this magical CD hate that I hear about in other people's videos. If you know my channel at all, you've probably heard that to put myself through trade school, I had to sell 90+% of my collection. So there's a lot of stuff I used to have on vinyl that I just haven't got back around to buying yet, especially with prices these days. So these two are just on CD. You'll have to deal with it. But next up is Energy by Operation Ivy. Billy, I would be surprised if you've heard of Operation Ivy. They are a band from the east side of the San Francisco Bay. I believe they called Berkeley home. They are a punk band that was heavily influenced by ska. There's quite a few ska songs on here. In fact, as much as I don't like bands like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones or the RX Bandits or really Sublime, which would be considered the third wave of ska, I guess. These guys kind of came in between the second and third waves and probably influenced a lot of that shitty early 1990s bowling alley type of ska music that you see in the movies like Basketball and such. But there's just a lot of really awesome vocal, the vocals are good. I'm trying to refer to the lyrics here. Just some stuff that I really related to around 8th or ninth grade. Two of the guys in this band, the guitarist and the bassist, ended up forming a band a little bit later called Rancid, which also has enjoyed a lot of popularity. But when I bought the CD in, I believe, 8th grade, it did not leave my portable CD player, which was, our Walkman / iPod of the time, for probably 3 or 4 months. This was with me every day. I just soaked it in. If I had to, recommend some songs to maybe check out, I would say Bombshell, Knowledge, Sound System, Missionary, Officer, and definitely from the ska side, I would go with, of course, Unity and Bad Town. Just a wonderful album. One of my favorite punk albums of all time. Now, last for 1989 is Fugazi's 13 Songs. I don't know if you guys can see the font's kind of small. This is technically this is a compilation album between two EPs, and I'm gonna fuck up and not remember both of them. Let me see if I can find it in here. One of them is Margin Walker, and yeah, it doesn't say it. The other one I can't remember. But this was technically Fugazi's first full-length release. Billy, again, I don't know if you know too much about Fugazi. I know you're not super into punk, but Fugazi is out of the Washington, D.C. hardcore scene, kind of born of Minor Threat, Right to Spring, a couple of other bands, and they just are honestly one of the most influential bands in my musical taste. Definitely, for years and years, if you would have asked me what my favorite band was, these guys would be the answer. And this early stuff on 13 songs here is just heavy, man. There's a lot of tempo changes, there's a lot of syncopation, there's a lot of anger and angst in the lyrics, but there's also a lot of depth in the subject matter. Favorite songs off this one are going to be Bulldog Front, Bad Mouth, Glue Man, and probably Give Me the Cure. But really, if this goes in the CD player, I'm not skipping a track. So that's it for 1989, my birth year, and now we've got the bonus 4. So I do really, really like a lot of country music. There's a lot of country music I also really, really don't like. But Billy has been really instrumental in not only helping me build my country collection, but also giving me recommendations for new stuff that I would like based upon just his knowledge of the stuff that I kind of tell him, like, hey man, this is what I'm into. I pulled this one, just a couple more CDs here, pulled this one out. This is Columbia Country Classics, Volume 3, Americana. This is a compilation CD that's been in my dad's collection since I was a little kid. And in fact, I think I discovered this around 8th grade, if I remember correctly, just perusing through some CDs, trying to figure out what to listen to, and randomly pulled this one out. And the reason I show this one first, Billy, is because this guy got me into classic country. Before this, I knew Willie, I knew Johnny Cash. I would have been able to sing some words to maybe some Marty Robbins songs without knowing who he was, or might have been able to remember that I had heard Bob Wills before at my grandma's house or whatever. But this particular compilation has everything from Fez Parker, Johnny Cash, Marty Robbins, Johnny Western, Lefty Frizzle, Stonewall Jackson, Hawkshaw Hawkins, Johnny Horton, Little Jimmy Dickens, just everything on here, man. And that era of country, I really am drawn to. And so this compilation was my first time hearing Big Bag John, the first time hearing the Battle of New Orleans, first time I ever heard, May the Bird of Paradise Fly Up Your Nose, If You Can't Bite, Don't Growl, Saginaw. Man, this really got my toe dipped in the water of classic country, and so I had to show this one. Next up is Johnny Cash's Gospel Glory. This CD is 27 minutes long, and it's just a compilation of gospel songs sung by Johnny Cash, and I think there's 4 of them on here that are really just outtakes from the San Quentin sessions that didn't get put on the Johnny Cash album, live from San Quentin, because this is with the Carter family and the Statler brothers. And I'm pretty sure I have the box set behind me, but pretty sure they're pulled from either San Quentin or the Folsom concert. But yeah, Daddy Sing Bass, Peace in the Valley. He turned the water into wine. The Great Speckled Bird. I grew up in church, going to church like crazy, really. And a lot of these songs I'd heard being sung by old bald white men for years, and they really didn't appeal to me. But when I started listening to guys, not only like Johnny, but like Elvis and Al Green, sing gospel songs from their soul, really, those songs really kind of came back and kind of touched me in a way that not a lot of music can. I'm not a deeply religious person, but I do really appreciate some of those classic gospel songs. Next up, Hank Williams Jr., Whiskey Bent and Hellbound. This post-it note says it all. Bocephus, hell yeah. The reason this has a post-it note on it is because Billy sent this to me for my first VCLT. I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but Billy sent me a slew of country albums when he heard I didn't have any classic country in the collection, and this is just a damn good Hank Williams Jr. album. I mean, you can't go wrong with this guy. I like Hank Williams Jr. a lot. Billy sent me actually a couple more of his albums. It was kind of hard for me to pick. I don't know his catalog frontwards and backwards, but I do really appreciate Billy having this and the other stuff you sent me. It'll be fun to keep building this part of my collection. It'll be fun to keep on discovering more and more deep tracks by Hank Jr. as well. Then last but not least, damn, we're at 22 minutes. Billy, I was trying to keep this short, man. But this is Vern Gosdin, Chiseled in Stone. There's Billy's note about this one. Again, Billy sent me this as well. I never heard of Vern before Billy sent me this, and this was the first album that I checked out on that VCLT package. And Vern can sing his ass off, that's obvious. This album, front to back, doesn't have a bad song on it, and for coming out in 1987, this is a kick-ass country album. In fact, before Billy sent me this, if you would have told me this album came out in 1987, I would have dismissed it, said it was going to suck and be tacky pop country, but this is really right up my alley. I think my favorite song on here is I Guess I Had Your Leaving Coming, but there's, Is It Raining at Your House, Tight as Twin Fiddles, There Ain't Nothing Wrong, Just Ain't Nothing Right. Man, Billy, solid recommendation on this one, brother. Anyway, guys, that's my contest response for Mr. Hurst. Billy, I hope you enjoyed watching this, man. Thank you for all you've done to support my channel and all you do for the VC in general. I hope you had a happy birthday month. I know you've been working really hard. I hope you get some time to relax and keep up the good work, brother. Everybody, if you don't sub Billy Hurst and you're somehow watching this video, there will be a link to his channel below. I appreciate all of the likes and comments, and views, and subscribers I get in the VC. Coming up, I think it'll be a year for me in April in the VC. So it's been really, honestly, a really good almost a year, 10 months or so now. I really have enjoyed getting to know quite a few of you guys. So anyway, VC, hope you all have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.